Welcome to the WordPress Photography Podcast, the podcast for photographers who want to learn how to get the most out of WordPress to grow their photography business. You don't need to be a geek to understand WordPress. Settle back and listen as we show you how. Now, here's your host, Scott Wyden-Kivowitz.
Welcome to episode 48. My name is Scott Wyden-Kivowitz, and I'm joined by my guest, Valérie Jardin. Now, I want you to say your name because I can try to say it with your accent, but it'll come out horribly, even though I do try. You try.
So you have to give me some credit. Except you don't pronounce the N in the end, so that's where people always get it wrong. It's Valérie Jardin. There.
Yes. So I love how you say it, and
Thank you.
I actually, so off air, I do practice saying it, and it comes out horribly, so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to say it as close as I can without an accent, and then let you say it so beautifully.
Thank you.
And you did a great job. You always do a great job with your own name. So, since 1998, Valerie helps clients find their creative vision through the photographic arts. She is a visual storyteller, recognized internationally for her street photography. She leads workshops worldwide, has written books, produced a weekly podcast called Hit the Streets, and is an official ex-photographer for Fuji USA. We've known each other for years at this point now. I was just on your show about an hour ago. So actually, really, we just finished 10 minutes ago.
That's right.
But it's nice that we're finally connecting for each other's podcasts and chatting for more than 5 minutes at a time. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I don't do video very often, so woohoo.
Yeah.
My office is kind of a mess, but that's all right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So's my little studio back there, so it's all good. It'll be a nice treat for all of your podcast listeners and whoever else you share this with to be able to see you talk
hopefully.
about things that, So before we dive into what's going on with you, let's talk a little bit about WordPress photography-related news. The first is that WordPress 4.9 is here with a variety of bug fixes. Like usual, it has a new gallery widget and a bunch of other things. It's not a major release. The gallery widget is kind of a nice thing, but it's a very basic gallery feature. So it is what it is. Press This, which is a feature that's been in WordPress since the beginning, has been removed from the software in favor of it being a plugin. Basically, Press This is a feature where you can add a bookmarklet to your browser, and then no matter what website you're on, you can hit the button, and it will create a blog post draft paraphrasing with a quote from the website you're on. And so it wasn't a very popular feature, so it was removed from the core software in favor of a plugin instead. So now if you want to use Press This, you have to install a plugin. Big deal. Next is, at Imagely, we actually just released an article. I spent 1 month creating this article on image optimization. I compared all of the most popular WordPress plugins for image optimization, meaning image compression and that kind of stuff. So if you want to read that, I'll link to that in the show notes. That is a really good comparison article that should give you an idea of what it'll help guide you, sort of like what we did for our page builder comparison. It'll guide you with an unbiased view on what image compression plugin might be best for your photography website. And the last bit of news is not really WordPress related, but my family has started the adoption process for baby number 2. So if you want to follow our journey, see what we're doing, see the website I built using WordPress for it, then it's growingfamily.org, and you'll see all about it there. I'll also link to that in the show notes. And if you do visit the website, thank you very much for checking it out, because, we're adopting, and it's nice to share the journey, and it's nice that you might read the journey. Okay, so, Valerie, what's going on with you? What have you been up to lately?
Oh boy, a lot. 2017 has been an amazing year. Lots of travel, lots of workshops, lots of personal projects as well. Wrote another book, and which was published just a couple months ago. Woohoo! It's right here. And but really, I would say the highlight of my year, besides my workshops, which are always where I'm the happiest, is when I share my passion on the streets of the world with people from all over the world, is this project I've been working on with Joshua Coombs for Do Something for Nothing. And we hit the streets of New York together. And for those of you who still don't know who Joshua is, he's this young English hairstylist who cuts the hair of homeless people in large cities around the world. And we've known each other since he started the project. We finally had the chance to work together, and we actually planning our next trip to Paris in January, where we will continue. I will continue to document his work, and we also we just produced an ebook that's going to be out soon to help fund this beautiful project. So that's been really one of the highlights. It's that project that makes you feel so good that I know now I always want to leave time in my busy schedule for this type of work. So that's
Nice.
that beat everything else this year, book and everything else, exhibits or whatever else happened. This really was the highlight for my personal work. Mm-hmm.
And at Photo Plus Expo, we got to sit and watch you. Sit was nice because there was a lot of walking that day. Sit and watch you speak at the Fuji booth, and you shared a bunch of photos from that project, and they're absolutely beautiful. They're fun to see too. You're seeing the smiles come from these the faces of these homeless people that they're not smiling all the time.
No,
So
it's amazing how they share their story. We talk with them, we hug them, and then they leave after, because Josh takes his time. So sometimes it takes an hour. Because it's more about the communication and the talking than it is about the actual haircut. He takes his time, and he gives them a really good haircut too. It's not just a buzz; it's a really stylish haircut. And to see the spark in their eyes and the spring in their step when we part ways, compared to the way they looked sitting there on that park bench or wherever we find them. So it's a beautiful thing to experience. So I was really lucky to be able to document that.
fantastic, yeah. And then you got more travels coming up.
Yeah, it's kind of
Going
slowing down
nonstop.
a little bit, but I think I've been either to Paris or New York like every other month this year. So yeah, San Francisco coming up and Dallas, and then it slows down for Christmas time. Usually, there's no workshop anyways. People don't do that kind of thing. So that's my time to stop traveling for about 3 weeks, and then Paris again in January. So, and a busy year next year again. So it's good.
Nice. And tell me a little bit about the new worldwide photo walks you're doing under your brand. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, it just started last month, and I was lucky to go to the first 2 worldwide photo walks, Hit the Streets with Valérie Jardin, which is my podcast. And I've always wanted to get the listeners together, because so many people, those people are in 150 some countries, and I'm sure a lot of them are in the same big cities. So why not try to get the audience to meet? So we started with New York, and those photo walks are free. We just limit them to a certain number of people for, obviously, so it's manageable. So New York happened right after Photo Plus, and then 2 weeks ago I was at the first Paris Hit the Streets photo walk, and actually photographer friends came from all over Europe, which was a treat, and we had so much fun. So it's a social time. You know very well that it's not in a photo walk that you'll do your best work, but it's so important to hang out with other like-minded people. So anybody who listens to the show, who enjoys it and wants to help out and lead a photo walk in a city near where they live, they can definitely connect with the team. I have some wonderful volunteers running things for me and helping out to make this possible. So the goal is in about a year to actually have one date for all cities.
All of them.
Yeah. And
Nice.
And every year I'll go to a different city, kind of the Kelby walks, and a lot of other events like that. It's not new, but we'll still keep the separate events going, the smaller events year round.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about websites a little bit now. You and I were talking, weeks ago when we were scheduling this that, you didn't think you were going to have much value in the talking websites. So I have some topics tailored just for you, and I think you're going to be great at answering these. So I'm looking forward to getting these out to all the viewers and listeners. Because there's a lot of street photographers that don't get a lot of content that they can learn from about street photography. Mm-hmm. So, street photography websites, I should say. So let's start with the absolute most important thing that you believe every street photographer should have on their website.
Well, first and foremost, the first thing that you should see on a website when you click on it is their work, not their bio, not their picture. You need to be wowed. You need to want the person who looks at the website to want to dig a little deeper. So, and I think that needs to be either a gallery with several beautiful shots, your best shots in the front, but it can't be so static. You need to update those often.
Right.
You need to give a new experience when people come back. So, so if you have just the one big picture in the front, in the homepage, or if you have like me, I have a gallery that I update regularly in the homepage. Do that. Don't keep the same pictures on your homepage all year. It gets boring. But you should really want to give someone a taste of what you do, and you want them to dig a little deeper into the galleries then that you have on your website. And if you do street photography, just devote your website to street photography. Don't have your wedding business on the same website or whatever else you do. Just separate them.
Yeah, so I'm actually it's interesting that you brought that up. I'm a fan of actually having one website.
Okay.
But that's with a caveat. I believe that for SEO purposes is why you want to have it on one website. However, you need to separate and segregate the content. So, for example, I have one website, but I teach photographers and I write and blog also and have portfolio for clients. So, my website, if you go to a page that's for family portraits, then you're going to see blog content on there to recommended to you related to family portraits. You're not going to see photographer education there. You're going to see families. But if you so then there's a lot of photographers that are doing this the right way, and there's a lot that are doing it the wrong way. And I don't recommend having it on one website if you're doing it the wrong way. But if you are doing weddings and you're doing street photography, which oddly enough I do see happen. That your weddings, anything related to weddings should never show anything in street photography, ever. It needs to be completely cut off, even though it's on the same website. Yeah. And there are ways to do it in WordPress. There's ways to do it on other platforms. But you need to really think it out and carefully craft that.
Yeah, because like your homepage, what's the first?
Right.
So then you have two different pictures. You have your street,
right.
But who do you want to cater to first? That's
exactly.
where you want to decide. Or do I cater to street photographers who are my friends, or do I cater to clients who are potential, wedding clients potentially?
Yeah. So here's my my thought on that, and this is exactly what I recommend to anybody who is considering, even if it's not street photography, if it's family portraits, and then commercial photography, which also happens a lot, is your homepage should be whatever makes the most money, right? Whatever brings in the most revenue for that business should be on the homepage. And then, or if you can find a way to cleverly put them both there in a nice way, then yes, you can do that. And then direct people into the right direction. Otherwise, and this is what I do, is I have landing pages for each specific genre. And that way, the landing pages are actually optimized for search engines for those genres of photography.
Okay.
And that way, if somebody's searching and they're searching for a family portrait photographer, they're not going to land on my homepage. They're going to land directly on the landing page designed for that.
Oh, okay. That's the way to do it then. That's clever.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's ways. But again, a lot of people don't think about this stuff, and they just put it out there and hope that, it's gonna do the job. And in fact, it might actually confuse visitors more. Now the one other thing I want to touch on your answer to this was displaying your best work. And I think, and I might be wrong with this because I do street photography, but I don't do it as much as you, obviously. So, what I think is that, street photography, it's harder to sell to consumers, right? Prints, because on average, the average consumer may not want a photo of a person's face that they've never met on their wall, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to be more creative about which you're trying to sell to people. And I think that whatever you're showing on the homepage for your street photography website, if you're doing a dedicated street photography website, is not only do your best work, do your most sellable work to consumers, and also display it in an absolutely beautiful way, right? Don't just have, 3 photos there and you're done. Like, do it in a nice slideshow or in a full page background slider or something that really captures the attention with those photos, not just putting the photos on a page, right? You need to make sure that they're displayed in a way that really sells it, to get people to want to look at more. So that's my opinion on it.
It also depends what you want to do. I mean, you may just want to, a lot of people don't want to sell their work. And you're right. Street photography is not something that sells very easily. I mean, there is the more artsy way to do it that will possibly sell, like silhouettes will sell versus, a close-up of a stranger, obviously. The name of the photographer will sell. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's a Cartier-Bresson, obviously somebody will put it on their wall, or a Duano or whoever. So yes, but you're right. It all depends. If you're an educator, then you want to show something different. You want to show a selection of what you're capable of doing. But yeah, it's hard. But, I was a commercial photographer for a long time. And it's not until about 7 years ago that I phased out my commercial photography business and that I devoted my time and energy to educating and writing and podcasting. And for the first couple of years, I actually kept my commercial portfolio on my website, although it wasn't the first thing people saw because that's not what I was selling. I wasn't shooting commercially. But the reason why I kept it there somewhere in my website is that people could see, because they didn't know who I was. So people could see what I could actually do, that I had experience, that I feel like a good photographer should be able to shoot anything. So, I had made a living shooting interiors and food photography. And so I wanted to keep that as a part of my website so that people who would sign up to come on my workshop could see that I wasn't just a street photographer. I was a professional who knew how to use a camera. And that, yes, I decided that I wanted to teach this genre of photography, but that's not all I could teach and that's not all I could give them. So I did keep that gallery for a while. And after about 2 years, it made no sense to keep it on there because I was still getting commercial requests and I was turning them down. So I took it out.
Isn't it nice when you can turn down work?
Oh, well, it's nice the day you say, okay, that's it. I'm not taking another client anymore. Yeah. It is nice. It's shooting for me only.
Yeah,
I'm the only person I have to please. It's a good place to be. Yeah.
So this actually leads nicely into what was my third question. But so street photographers, there are many really purposes for having the website. You could be creating the website to sell. You could be creating the website to teach. You could be creating the website to just display. There's a wide range. So who should the average street photographer who should they be targeting when they write content, right? And they write blog posts, when they write their about pages and, their mission statement, any of that kind of stuff. Who should the average street photographer be writing for What do you think is the most common?
Well, I think street photography is really something you do for yourself unless you're an educator. So, and I don't think that many street photographers want to make a career teaching others. I don't think that's the goal. Most street photographers do it out of pure passion for the genre. And it's not something they do to make money. It really is about sharing their passion and sharing their vision with the world. And it may be one of the only genre that kind of approaches photography this way, because it is such a hard thing to sell anyways. I think if you're in street photography to make money, just do something else, because that is not the genre to make money, unless you really want to pursue the education part of it, which is hard. It's people may think, oh, it's so nice, you travel the world, but it's a lot more work than people think to get there, because that's what everybody wants to do. So there is a lot of competition. And people don't realize, like, to get 10 people on a workshop, you need to reach tens of thousands. People don't really look at it that way. They always think, oh, it's just 10 people. Yeah, it's 10 people that are willing to travel the world to meet with you. So you really need to know who your audience is. Is it potential client then? Is it your peers? Other street photographers, and you want to be able to share with them and engage a conversation. I think that's the most common. And that's definitely how I started, even today, my clients are other street photographers. So they're not people who were just looking for a vacation and said, oh, maybe I'm just going to pick up photography. No, they're serious photographers. Some of them may be beginners in the street, but they're still photographers. Very rarely do I have someone on my workshop who has never even picked up a camera before. I mean, usually people, when they get to street photography, they've done this a while, usually. And street photography may be the one thing that they've been intimidated by, but they want to try. So whether they're beginners or professional photographers who have always wanted to do street. So I would say it's really showing your work to other like-minded people at that point. And if you have content to share, people love looking at galleries of your work, whether it's on a blog or something, or tips, struggles. People love you learn from people's mistakes. So I think those are good things to share and be completely open and be you. Really, that's the key.
Yeah. So you can share your work, and if you don't want to be an educator, really, you could still share your work and just share like the situation that happened, the struggle that happened while you're making this photo. What was going on in the city while you're making the photo, and what happened when the guy walked around the corner and walked into a pole or something. What happened? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're recording a piece of history. Really, you can look at it this way. The way your city is changing is interesting. So many people do street portraits, and engage the people in conversation. I mean, look at Humans of New York. That's how it all started. And a lot of people are doing these projects in a different way with their own twist. And those are all very important projects. And really, if you do this and you keep it for yourself, what's the point? Share it. Start a blog. I think blogging really is the best way to share your work. Not just having the website, which is a bit static, but have a blog. And every website now has this, a blog attached.
Capability,
so, I would say that's the way to really engage an audience.
For sure. So what are your top 3 portfolio tips for aspiring street photographers?
Be very, very picky when you curate your work. Just don't. It's good if you could get some feedback. I do a lot of portfolio reviews and a lot of online critiques for people when I'm not traveling. And it's amazing how much stuff that they have on there that say, what, really, is it really a personal shot? Because or is it? Do you think it's really a strong photograph? Not because you're attached to it, personally, that it's actually a strong photograph, that it should be displayed in your portfolio. So be critical of your own work, or have somebody help you. And we can all work on that. I mean, we all attach to some pictures that, and that's okay too. But try to show less, but show better work. I would say don't put one thing, it's my pet peeves, and you may be completely of a different opinion. When you're displaying pictures on your website, like on your main gallery, don't have a watermark. We know it's your website. It has your name on it already. So I don't like seeing watermarks on website galleries. Now, I know a lot of people do, and I don't know why they're so afraid. The only way I think a watermark is still valid is to find out who that picture actually belongs to. So if it's on Facebook and that picture is shared and shared and shared, then it has it. My watermark on social media is so tiny, you really have to look for it because they're so easy to remove. They're completely useless. Don't put a watermark because you're afraid somebody's going to steal your work. That makes no sense. Only have a little watermark that's really inconspicuous so that people knew who the photograph belonged to. But when the people are on your website, they already looked for your website. They know it's yours, so you don't need to have your name on every picture. That's something that kind of bugs me. If it's on your blog, it's different. But on your main page, in your galleries on your website, that bugs me a little bit. How about you? I didn't look at your website. Maybe you do have your watermark on there.
No, I'm actually anti-watermark. Okay. I don't even use watermarks when I share it anywhere. I don't like that they take away from the photo. And the way I feel is if someone's going to steal my photo, if it's somebody that is, got a big reach, well, shame on them. And then second, they're about to get a lawsuit. So,
and you can't
otherwise,
stop,
if they're just
dishonest people will always be dishonest, and honest people will be honest, and that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been.
And there's DMCA letters. So if somebody that is not worth suing actually does take my photo, I can just do a DMCA letter, and then in a matter of days, it's taken down and problem solved.
Yeah.
It's no skin off my back, and it's annoying, but it's something that we have as artists have to deal with.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I don't know. It's just
part of it, and it's funny because it's usually the new photographers that are the most afraid of that, and they're probably the least likely to get their pictures stolen, anyways. But they're the ones that have the biggest watermark. Or what drives me really crazy is when I see a watermark in the middle of the picture, which you see. It's like, why even put your work out there? But to each his own, and we've all gone through that. I mean, I went through the watermark. They got smaller and smaller and smaller for a while. I removed them altogether, and then I kind of got tired of seeing my pictures on other people's galleries as their own. That I have a little problem with. But then you know what? I could spend my day doing that and chasing after people, and that's not a good way to spend my energy. So I choose to just okay, whatever.
And there's services too to automate that process. So for those who don't want to do it manually, there's services that will automate the monitoring of your work, and then actually doing the takedown letters. Basically So,
but you still need to know that's worth, I mean, chances are your picture is not going to be used on a billboard or something. Yeah. You're never going to get anything out of it.
I had a photo.
Pictures, so.
I did have a photo that was on my blog, not in my portfolio, that was taken by Hudson News.
Okay.
And used on their websites, not in their stores. Hudson News is like the small little newspaper little shop that's in all the airports.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's not it.
So I got a nice check from them before they took the photo down.
Okay, good.
So sometimes and that's happened numerous times to me. Of Marriott sort of did the same thing, and that whole chain. So
isn't that crazy that big corporation like that, they actually have people working for them in that department that still don't know the copyright laws?
Crazy. And the way I handled it was, instead of a DMCA, I sent an invoice.
Yeah.
And that's, they paid the invoice and they took the photo down. So
good. Well, good for you.
So,
yeah, I mean, if you have time or if you can hire somebody to do that legwork for you, yeah, you could probably cash on a few things, but don't let it become your main focus.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So what's your thought on for portfolios, keeping all black and whites together and keeping colors separate?
Well,
or do you?
No, I don't do that
in?
actually, because I believe that the subject actually, decides of whether it's going to be a color or black and white shot. And if you're in my Paris gallery, you will have some color and you will have some black and white, but they make sense why they're color and why they're black and white. So it's just that I will usually try to display them in the way that it actually works. Just like in a book, I don't believe that it has to be all black and white or all color, because some pictures would make no sense in black and white and vice versa. So,
Awesome. Yeah, some people are very particular about that. So it's nice to hear your take on that.
Yeah.
So
I'm not nitpicking about that kind of stuff so much.
So we have a segment that we started recently, actually, where you, the guest, can ask a question to all the listeners. And so Valerie is about to ask a question to who is listening to this. Please either comment at the show notes, which I will share the link later, comment with your answer to this question, or underneath the YouTube video on YouTube, you can comment with your answer as well. So Valerie, what is your question for the listeners?
Okay, so for all the photographers out there who have not yet tried street photography, what is the reason you haven't done it yet? What is holding you back?
Great question. I am looking forward to seeing the answers to this.
Yeah.
So to answer this question, again, go to the YouTube video. If you're on YouTube, just scroll down and answer the question in the comments, or go to imagely.com/podcast/48 in order to answer it in a comment on the show notes. So Valerie, I'm going to share all the links of where people can find you and to pick up your new book as well.
Thank you.
So do you want to share your website, which is your portfolio and your podcast?
And the podcast and the blogs and the store and everything. It's simply valeriejardin.com. VALERIEJARDIN.com.
Awesome.
Simple.
And so I will share the website and, again, where you can buy her book if you're interested in her book, her Facebook page, Twitter, all that stuff, all in the show notes. Thank you, Valerie, for joining me today. You can find the show notes from today's episode and where to find Valerie at imagely.com/podcast/48. Until next time.
You've been listening to the WordPress Photography Podcast. To listen to other episodes and to subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more, please visit imagely.com/podcast.